Hello, what's going on? I don't usually do like live human streams that often, so this is gonna be fun. So welcome to the channel, everyone. If you're not used to seeing this, this is me. So we're gonna get started today. We're gonna talk about a mod called the UEVR mod injector. It's for Unreal games. So before we get started, I want to invite you guys to something. So what we're going to be doing today is having live discussions if you care to. Of course, you can put it in the chat. I will do my best to read all of your chat messages. But if you want to physically talk to me, you can join the Discord and go into the streaming waiting room. And from there, I'll pull you in. So if you need to know how to get to the Discord, it's very simple. I'm going to post a Discord link in each chat. So if you're in Twitch, wow, it's going to be in the Twitch chat. If you're in YouTube, it's going to be in the YouTube side of things. I unfortunately didn't grab water before I got started because I'm intelligent. But in the studio with me today, if they show themselves, is Winston and Gus. They're both hiding underneath my chair, which is funny. Yes, Yuri, wonder if people are going to ask if this is a face reveal, right? I feel like every time I show my ugly face, everyone's always like, is this a face reveal? It's been on the channel for like 5 years. But anyway, let's go ahead and say hello to everyone. Hello, Dog and Nick and Pickle and Santa Casey and Yuri. Hello, Yuri. ZZ Cast, hello. How are you doing? Bob Jim says face reveal. See, we knew it was going to happen. EXO, what's going on? Emixma, Rice Bowl, Nedia, Cone, hello. The Blade Man, Bonjai Reacts, what's up? Hello. Thanks for saying hi to me. Spotify Premiums is in the chat. What's up, Mr. Arbot? Thanks for stopping by. I keep waving to I think my camera's there, but I moved it to here for some reason. Nice hair. Thanks, Ukrainian. What's up, Zan? What's up, Gaming Chats? Zoinks, what up? Nedia, hello. Skylar, Eyeball, Local. Ronan, what's up, Ronan? Someone redeemed a hydrate. You know I didn't bring water with me. Don't make me get up and walk downstairs because my dogs will come running after me. Hello, Fish. Hello, Unhorsed Goose. Preston, Tomato Soup. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Thanks, Peanut. I appreciate that. What's up, Ken? Ken. I'm just going to call you Ken. I can't keep reading. How am I doing today? I'm doing great. Zan, how are you doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I should say I'm doing well. Hello, Eyeball, Tozy. O2 Pickle. Someone says hydrate now. I don't have liquid in the room. How am I supposed to hydrate? I have tape. I have Scotch tape in the room with me. Socks. I have a remote. What else do I have? I don't even know. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Gatto, King, Varova, Acto? How are you guys doing? Did I get everyone? I hope I got everyone. So once again, everyone that's new here, I'm gonna throw, please hydrate. I can't hydrate. I'm gonna throw in the Discord in chat in just a second on the YouTube side of things and Twitch side of things. So what you can do is if you want to actually physically talk to me, like you want to join the Discord, what will be in a voice call, it'd be so cool. And we could talk about UEVR. What I'm going to do is drop the Discord. You join that one, go into the stream waiting room. And what I'll do is I'll pluck people one by one from there if you're waiting in there. So that will be a hoot and a holler. So there you go. Last time I'm going to do that for now. Go get water. Why is everyone saying go get water? Fine. I'm going to go get some water. If everyone leaves the stream, I'm not going to get water. Why am I listening to you? Please hydrate. Also, your voice doesn't match your voice. I don't know what that means. What's up, Santana? Okay, so let's get started. So what is UEVR? So UEVR is a mod injector called the Unreal Engine VR mod injector. So if you guys are paying attention to the current zeitgeist of YouTube, everyone's talking about 11,000 new VR games. What's up, Pickle Smeller? Water reveal. So everyone's talking about, hello, Rico. Sorry, I'm going to be saying hi to people that pop by. Drink Scotch tape. I keep getting sidetracked. There's too much on screen. I have ADHD, so it's going to be too much. Yeah, so everyone that I've been seeing on Reddit, on YouTube, is just talking about It says EUVR. I'm not changing the title if it's spelled wrong. I don't care. I don't care. I can't change the title right now. I haven't even got started. All right. So what it does is it injects VR capabilities into non-VR games that use the Unreal Engine 4 and up. Okay? So what that means is, theoretically, most of these games that are running the Unreal Engine can have some form of VR support, like almost natively, just with this plugin. And what that does is really cool. I tried it out yesterday, but I'm not that smart. And what ended up happening, I tried to use you technically couldn't do Fortnite VR, realistically. However, you kind of have to be smart or wait for other people to make profiles. And what that means is, let's say you put the plug in for Fortnite and you're like, let's do Fortnite in VR. I can't wait to, teenage colloquialism, I don't know. And what it does is it gives you like a list of things that you have to set up. But the problem is no one knows how to set anything up right now, except for like the select purebred human beings that are intelligent. So I'm sitting there trying to get the Unreal Engine to work in Ready or Not. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. I install mods. I help people. Let's get this done. And I failed entirely. Immediate fail. Like, I was able to look around in the menu, but when I started the game, there was no like hand tracking. There was nothing. And I tried to look up a guide for it. I reached out to as many people as humanly possible, and complete failure. So anyway, what I want to talk about right now is setting expectations and whatnot. So I'm going to bring up things like developers. I'm going to bring up things like the player base and whatnot. So right now, this is just my hypothesis. You ready? I'm pretty sure that the Unreal VR plugin is probably pissing off a lot of VR developers. Because when you make a game for VR, you're going in there yourself and saying, okay, what does a VR player do? They like to interact with things. They like to pick things up. They like to, I don't know, like fondle the whatever you guys do in it. I mean, look at me. I go in Blade and Sorcery all the time, and I'm touching things. I'm picking up rocks. I'm breaking chairs. I'm eating an apple. I'm choking chickens. You know what I'm talking about. And I can't hydrate Toasted Bagel. Everyone's saying to hydrate. I can't do it. There's no liquid in my studio right now, okay? I will eat your breakfast if you continue with this. Yes, Yuri, fondle. You guys are distracting me really bad. I keep looking at the chat and it just says hydrate and water O. What's up, Trey, the voice actor? How you doing? Welcome back. I really wish I had water now. Hey! Thanks, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. All right, so back on track. I'm back on track because ADHD. So what's going on is there is a Google Sheets or documents of like all the games that are kind of working flawlessly with the Unreal Injector. And I saw some of them. Shout out to Beardo Benjo. I saw your video. He was playing Bolt Gun, and that game looks really cool. It's in the Warhammer universe, and it's really awesome. But because it's like a 2D based like sprite game, the gun on the screen as you aimed was like flat, and like you could see the detached version of it. So it looked really cursed, but it looked like it played pretty cool. And that gets me to my main point. I know. My main point being that VR games, first and foremost, are about immersion at the very top, and then its closest cousin is gameplay, right? And of course, fun. But immersion is the biggest factor in VR. So when you're playing any type of game, like let's say we're playing Blade and Sorcery, you want to be immersed because it's a sword fighting game. Yeah, it's a sword fighting game. So you want to be able to block swords. You want to be able to hit people back and do all this fun stuff. But if it was just a flat screen game, you would just be pressing buttons to do so. Like I think of a game called Shadow of War. I don't know if you guys played it, or hell, even Dynasty Warriors. In those games, you know, it's just like a hack and slash-a-thon. and you're not really blocking too much. Like you can press a counter button and the character plays an animation. So imagine injecting those games with VR. It just wouldn't translate well because it's not made to be translated well. So when I see games that are like 11,000 new VR games, I'm like, no, bullshit. Like we're really not getting those games, and all it's doing is creating more pain in the PC VR universe. And I would pause for a moment and take a sip of water, but I don't have any. So what I mean by that is the PC VR has been very dry for a while. We haven't really gotten a good PC VR game that just came out and we're like, let's play it in since Bone Lab. And even then, so that being said, is people are itching to play games. So they find a mod like the Unreal Injector and they go back to Ukrainian. We're not talking about Assassin's Creed right now. Plus that's not a PC VR game and that's the problem right now. That's what I'm talking about. So it's a bunch of people like myself desperate to play a brand new VR game for our PC, not standalone VR. And it ends up just being kind of a mess because a lot of these games, obviously aren't played for VR. Like they were made 10, 15 plus years ago, or they're made modern and it just doesn't have VR in mind. Like it's a huge, huge difference between a game made for flat screen and a game made for VR. Because a game made for flat screen is like, what are you interacting with? What does a player actually interact with? Like the guns, you pick up a weapon, maybe an NPC, but there's a finite amount of interactions. But in VR, you want to be able to say like, what phone? You could pick up a phone, you could throw a phone at someone, anything in the level, it invites the player to go and do that one. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with this one. I tried it myself. It was mildly tough to get. Not install the game. Yes, Thorin, I have tried Tactical Assault VR. That's a great game. But I tried my best using this mod, and some of the stuff is plug and play. But the games that you actually want to play, like I was thinking right away. I was like, ready or not in VR, let's do this one. And I already explained the story. So that's kind of how I feel about it. And once again, I feel like this is going to piss off a lot of normal VR developers because they're putting their blood, their sweat, their tears into making an actual VR game. And then pop comes out a mod, which is great. The mod author did a great job as far as being able to inject a bunch of, just a universal mod into all these games. It's awesome for that. But as far as it being healthy to the VR industry, flash in a pan, an absolute flash in a pan for this one. So let's read some of your guys' comments right now on the topic. If you have a comment, put it in there. If you want to talk to me directly, go into Discord and hop into the streaming waiting room. I see a couple of you guys are in there right now. I'll pull you in just a moment. Yeah. Average Doggo, we talk about Prey Dogs. Yeah, we're talking about Prey Dogs mod for that one. M says, as a VR dev, you never want your players thinking, I'd rather be playing this on a normal screen instead of VR. It's a good point. That's definitely a good point. Ethan says, was there a voice pack mod in the Samurai video? Yeah, that came with Hanky's mod. Thanks, Exo Novus. I appreciate that. Please drink the downloadable content sign. No. Wall says, I'm not paying $80 for a link cable that charges. Oh, man. What do I think is better? Battle Talent or Blade and Sorcery Nomad? Probably Battle Talent. There's just kind of more in that game right now. Water Sim VR. Thanks, Magma. Will this be a video? I don't know. Daniel says, when's the next lore video out? I'm still making it. Did I make the 150K? We did, but like 4 days late. Yes, Awakened Toast. Hello, I see you. You're saying I might have a typo. Yeah, I know. Super typo. I'll go fix it right now since I'm getting yelled at plenty. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. And Mr. Toast, if you wish to join the discussion, feel free. Yeah, we're doing the thing what we did last time. I pull people from the waiting room. So if you want to do that, you can. I'd love to get your opinion on it. Another degenerate. Yeah, let's talk about the EU. Let's talk about the EU. I can't fix it for Twitch, so if you're on Twitch, I apologize. I fixed it, okay? It's all fixed now. Let's do it, baby. Okay, so let's we're gonna bring Awakened Toast in real quick. Let's give him a nice little ring. Everyone in the waiting room, I will do my best to get to you. Let's just get Toast in on here real quick. We're just gonna call him live. It's ringing, but you guys can't hear it. Hello, Awakened Toast, and welcome to B103, your radio station for all things VR. I'm your host, Fuckboy Bob. Anyway, yeah. So the European Union came out with their own mod. I don't know if you guys know about it. Okay, so I obviously didn't try all 11,000 brand new games, but I tried to do a game that I try to do Ready or Not. Someone says they can't really hear you. I'm going to boost you real quick, okay, buddy? Okay, you've been boosted. So I tried to do Ready or Not, and that one is not plug and play at all. So what you have to do is kind of like make your own motion controls for that one. And that part of it's not straightforward, and it seems like you have to wait for a lot of other people that are, of course, are really good at this, and they can make their own profiles and upload it, and other people have to figure it out. So, oh my bad, hang on. Sorry, everyone, I had Toast muted.
Yo, I'm no longer muted. I've been freed from my shackles. I've been tortured.
Anyway, sorry, everyone. Toast is back. Toast is back. He has no audio. I know he has no audio. We're good now. So it seems like you have to have a decent amount of knowledge going into a decent amount of knowledge about Unreal or just a high amount of knowledge in technology to kind of make the games you want VR. It seems like it's still up to everyone else that know how to do this to make it first. So if they're already like a VR developer, or they know what they're doing code wise, they can make what they want. Like I watched a tutorial on Fireteam's Elite, and the man's like, okay, so you move the camera, you turn off the actor, and then you look at like the gun is called a child, and I'm doing all these things and trying to follow along. And I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it. And then some of the other ones that I saw, so aside from making your own motion controls, I was like, all right, this ain't gonna be me. So I watched some of these other ones, and people are like, yeah, playing Hogwarts Legacy in VR. It's like, no, you're not. If you're holding a controller in your hand and you're just looking around like an idiot, like, wow, space. Like, to me, that's not VR. That is like milquetoast VR. And that is my opinion.
I guess I kind of have a different stance on it. It's more or less for, like, let's say you like the nativeness of virtual reality, right? That's what I like, is sixed off. Like, I like the 6 degrees of freedom. I like the motion controls. I like being able to feel the weight of weapons. I like the physicality. I like a lot of those things. But then it's for the extra, where it's like, this is just the additional, like, hey, I want to play Sword Art Online Alicization Lycerus and see it, like, in a VR headset. So you put that controller in, it's more of a casual VR experience, compared to hopping into Blade and Sorcery and just destroying people with 6 degrees of freedom. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously I'm going to have my inclinations of wanting to play one version over the other, but I do find the interest in literally just loading any Unreal project and being able to inject it with this mod. It's like infinite possibilities. So like in terms of like YouTube content and like just the ability to play really anything you want that's made on Unreal Engine, it is fantastic. But I'm on the fence of both ways. I'm 50-50 because like I'm on the vision of driving VR forward, and I want the best things for like, I don't want this mod to be the thing where it's like, oh, developers don't need to make VR games now because there's a mod that does it for them. Like that's not where I want VR to go.
Yeah,
but
I think that's kind of where I am also is, you and I, we talk to a lot of VR developers, which is cool. And I haven't got their direct opinion on this one. But exactly what you just said is, if you are a VR developer and you're making a game for VR, and then you see this mod that just injects it into thousands upon thousands of projects and people accept it as it is, like, it's YouTube, and YouTube has to have clickbait. Like, there has to be clickbait. I've tried titles without clickbait and they don't work, and you have to do some minor clickbait to get people in. But my point is, when I see things like it's going to change VR forever, of course it's a clickbait to get you in there. But in reality, as an honest discussion about it, it can change VR forever in a negative light where, it's a race to the bottom. Anytime something's universal, it's going to be mediocre, right? Mediocre meaning average. We know that. So what I mean by a race to the bottom is, if I can go into my Steam library real quick and just be like, oh, I want to play Gears of War in VR. And then I click on it. I have my VR headset, and then I download a profile that someone else already made to say, okay, now I can move the chain gun and I can do all that stuff. And there's a button to reload. That is cool, but that is a danger to VR. And I think this is really popular right now because, PC VR is being like neglected. Like, you might as well be an adopted cousin. That's how neglected PC VR is right now. And I know you have a strong opinion on PC VR and standalone as well. It's just, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for indie developers that are VR devs that are making these games, because I don't know, man. Like, I think if I was making something, it's the equivalent to, let's say you and I were content creators and we're like, okay, so it took me like 12 hours to make a video from recording to editing to publication. And you go to do that one, and then you find a YouTube channel that's 100% AI generated from everything. Like, it's using ChatGPT for a script, it's using a voiceover, it edited itself, through AI, it has AI images and stuff, and you're sitting there like, what the fuck, man? That's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, I'm gonna bump in here, and I think I don't see the UEVR being a danger to VR. If anything, it's adding more possibilities of like experiences in terms of that. Yeah. It's not going to take away from your native experiences. People are still going to want to play 6 Degrees of Freedom and games that were made for VR. I just think this just allows extra opportunity. I think that's all it is. Okay. Like, for the games that aren't yet like adapted to VR, it gives that gateway for people to play. In the discussion about the AI content, whatever, a nice way to kind of put this is like AI content and real personality content, people are going to easily lean towards one. And this is the same discussion between UEVR games and native VR games. People are going to be inclined to still wanting to play these VR titles if they're very well made. The UEVR mod is just basically that gateway of games that don't have that support yet, that have Unreal Engine support or built on the Unreal Engine and just are able to be experienced in an HMD. It's the same as VorpX, except better. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it, is like, people will get these programs to experience them because they want to see that game in VR, and there's just no studio that's adapted it, So to me, I don't think UEVR is necessarily like dampening the VR experience. If anything, it's just allowing people to kind of scratch that itch for games that aren't yet adapted yet.
So let me just read a comment real quick. Someone named Leighton Johnson in YouTube says, as a VR dev myself, it's definitely scary. I don't think that it will destroy real dedicated VR games, but having to compete with fully fledged AAA flat screen games does worry me. That's a good point. Saying something like, hey, a game that developers had no intention and they made it flat screen and someone figured out a mod to do it kind of scares them. How do you feel about that?
But realistically, how many, like, this is the whole discussion about the PC VR side. PC VR, people say that it's dying or it's not as, you know, much of the community, which is true when it's compared to standalone. So the whole idea of like, you know, having to compete with these AAA titles, you got to keep in mind PC VR is only a certain amount of the VR community. Second, how many people of that community are actually downloading this mod to go and do it? And three, how many are actually going to go through all the pain of like actually setting it all up? You know, like it's very slim compared to the mass majority of people that are actually playing and are avid enjoyers of VR.
Yeah, it's definitely a niche within a niche. And everyone, I see some people joining, they're asking what's going on. So right now we're having a conversation, not EU, it's the UEVR, so the Unreal Engine VR mod injector. In theory, almost 11,000 games that run on Unreal Engine 4 and 5 have now a universal mod that you can install in one click. And what that does is it injects VR capabilities into most of those games. So in theory, Fortnite can be played in VR. Granted, you will probably be banned instantly because they'll see that there's a mod installed, but any of these games can be done. So you can turn a third-person shooter into a first-person VR game with some motion controls, provided you know how to do that or that someone else made a profile for. So that's what we're talking about. Right now we have Awake and Toast on the call. We're going to be moving on pretty soon to some viewers that want to get their opinions out there. But I just thought it'd be cool also to get Toast's opinion on the subject as well. So that's where we are. So going back to the conversation, Mr. Toast Boy, is like what we said with PC VR not getting a lot of titles, most of them going to standalone. I still think it's really cool having this injector because, you know, like you said, just going in there and being able to experience a world just in VR just by looking around is cool. Like you and I, we played Left 4 Dead VR, which is a flat screen game, and we installed a mod, and it was fun, right? Wasn't that super fun?
Oh, 100%.
It was super fun. Now, granted, there were some other things that were more jank than we expected, like reloading and stuff, but they're still definitely fun to be had. It just needs to be done right. And I think, you know, it may take some time for people to get it done right because it needs those profiles themselves. Like it needs someone to say, hey, you want to play Ready or Not in VR? You're not going to sit there and make the motion controls yourself. It's just, you're not going to do it. So you have to install a profile, which in theory is a one-click thing. You just click on import profile. It's there, which is cool. But you need to still wait for these profiles. So it's like, it kind of feels like I'm still waiting for more VR games because I know what you said, but for me, I don't want to play a third person game in VR where I still see that character walking around and it just looks like someone that can't hold a camera straight is like watching the character, you know?
Which, I mean, that's just preference. Like with me and you both, we're both very first person savvy enjoyers. Like that's the way to play VR in my eyes, is like, you know, being able to move my arms, move all my fingers, and be able to interact with the world in that first person. Like that's super important to me. But I know there's a community out there that also loves that tabletop view, bird eye view, third person view, and they're able to play Crash Bandicoot on their PC with the VR headset and see that and like lean in the world and like really look around like all the environment. Like to those people, it's super important. You know, for me personally, I'm not too huge on that, but that's where I see a lot of potential with UEVR to be able to experience a lot of those third person games. You know what I mean? So those are like a lot of the VR players that, you know, get super motion sick. They can't have a lot of motion. You know, being in that first person is like too intense for them. This is like a really, really good median for them to go and download the UEVR mod and experience those games that are a little bit more tame and just kind of like spectate in a sense. You know, personally for me, not totally my thing, but I can see the potential with it.
Have you been able to try it yet? Like what games have you tried?
I actually, funny enough, there's this Attack on Titan game made by Swammy. It's like just a fan Attack on Titan game, and it looks incredible on PC flat screen. So then I was like, you know what? Since I'm already doing some AOT recently on VR, I was like, you know what, dude? I'll try it with the VR mod, and it was pretty freaking cool, dude, to see like, you know, Aaron going and like grappling around with his like ODM gear and all that in that quality. It's fantastic. And that's probably one of the most impressive things about the UEVR mod is the fact you can play a lot of these flat screen titles that were developed with graphic fidelity in mind and seeing that in the VR headset. That's probably one of the best parts about it. I know we had the discussion about like, you know, 6 degrees of freedom, 3 degrees of freedom, or playing with the controller, and whatever. But it is pretty freaking fantastic to be able to do something like that. Like, I almost wish Call of Duty was made on Unreal Engine, bro, so I could
Just
go
to
and
try it
experience
out.
zombies with it.
Just
Like, that would be so sick. It'd be so cool.
You know, the other thing that I think might be, I don't know if it's a miscommunication or whatnot, but another thing I was noticing is that a lot of people think that a game that is now injected with VR means like it's going to play like a port or whatnot, or it means they can easily port. The thing is, there's right now a big difference between a flat screen game and a VR game for how you make it, especially like with the controls if you're not using Unity. So just looking at, I don't know, so I'll pick one. Just looking at that game, Aliens Fireteam, when they brought it into VR, like right away, you're like, oh, I'm on a whole new level of jank. Like it's just, it goes straight down. So just because VR is injected into these games, I don't think it's going to make these other main developers that make flat screen games be like, oh, you want to know what? Let's now make a full port of this one, or let's turn this one into a full port.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to influence any of the AAA studios or the big studios to basically make VR ports off of watching the UEVR mod. Again, I think the entire purpose is just to expand the library of experiences people can try. You know, I think that's the entire... Because, you know, let's be honest, the VR ecosystem has, like, the big ballers. You know, it's your Beat Sabers, it's your Gorilla Tags, it's your Blade and Sorcery, Bone Labs, and Ghost of Tabor. You know, like, and Contractors, obviously. Yeah. But a lot of those games, like, you know, let's think, I shouldn't even say a lot of games, it's like 6 to 7 of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, you think about it, it's like there's not a lot of, like, crazy, like, I guess, variety of VR games at the moment, because a lot of stuff is still, you know, in the womb being developed, you know, and it's like we're at the early stages of that. So to have something that kind of breaks that median a little bit and just allows people to, you know, choose what they want to experience and whatever, I think it's nice, personally, with the UEVR mod. Do I think I'm going to be using it, like, extensively? Not really. I'd see myself maybe doing a few of those videos where it's like, I played blank in VR. You know?
But that's what I think it is. That's what I think it is right now. I think it's like currently this mod is a content creator's wet dream rather than like a normal person's like, wow, I can't wait to play that in VR. Like, I don't think that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Like, you know, and one of the things I'll definitely like expand upon too, like the UEVR mod, I think is going to be important for being able to experience these games and try them out and, you know, give people just a slight little taste of what that game would be like in VR. But the thing that I definitely noticed is like games that develop, like someone who actually develops a VR mod for a game compared to using the injector, it's night and day difference. Like, a really good example is this team that's basically making, I don't know if it's a team. It's a few people, I think, that are making a mod for Lethal Company. And it's like, it's going to be a VR mod, like fully interactable. Like you can see people moving their arms and everything in it. It's like that developed for like a VR mod is so much more extensive than what you'll probably get out of Prey Dog. You know what I mean? Just because, like, you know, there's a lot more like care and love into integrating the VR mechanics compared to a mod that just does it for you, right, in a sense, you know? So like it's very bare bones, but I think like I don't see Prey Dog's mod just being, you know, people take it, inject, and that's it. I see a lot of people expanding upon what's already there and basically making it where it's like they'll make 6 Degrees of Freedom and VR like implementations a lot easier,
right?
You know?
But don't you think that will compete with real VR devs at that point? Because now you're gonna have people making games for, you know, in theory 11,000 other games. So now, as let's say Blade and Sorcery 2 they're working on, or other people are working on like co-op, I don't know, PvE, PvP, physics-based games. Other people might just see like, oh wow, these other games. Oh wow, Chivalry 2 has, I don't even know if that's Unreal, but Chivalry 2 has, you know, the Unreal injector with motion controls. Let's play that instead. And they could almost play that for free because they've owned that game already, versus another game coming out and they're like, well, this is $20 for this or $40 for this one, and it could be bad because it's only made by 2 people. And I just feel like that will create unnecessary competition in this field, because now people's attention are going to be making profiles for Unreal games so that they can get the 6 Degrees of Freedom versus a VR dev just be like, I'm going to make this game because it's a passion project.
I don't think you'll ever compete with native. That's the thing. Unreal Engine injector and native VR experiences will never coincide. Like they're basically two different communities. It's the same as the PC VR and standalone. You know, like obviously we're all building this niche that we call virtual reality, but at the end of the day, they're their own beast. You know what I mean? And that's what UEVR is going to be. At least in my eyes. You know, correct me if I'm wrong in 2 years, but you know, generally I believe that it's going to be just its own thing. You know, people will play VR experiences that are like tailored for virtual reality compared to the modded version that's just like in, you know, a pinch of it. Because like think about it with, you know, new releases, for instance. Let's say like, you know, a game releases out in this year 2024 and it has button pressing interactions, it doesn't have physics, you can't grab things. People aren't going to play that VR game because it's so poorly made.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Compared to, you know, a native experience that's tailored with the physics of like Saints and Sinners. You stab a zombie, you have to pull that thing out. You know, like there's still always going to be that, you know, you'll be able to distinguish between native and UEVR, and I think people will like recognize that and still fund the VR community in terms of like buying new releases and whatever because they are made for VR. You know, I think they're going to be two different distinct communities, but that's just in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I have hope for it. I think you kind of nailed it before by saying you're 50-50. I think that's probably where I am if I had to like round out an even math number. Also is, like you said, you are also not the person that says you want to be in a third person VR game also. That's not my cup of tea. I like to experience VR in full immersion. So I'm interested to see where it goes for sure, especially if it gives PC VR new life and encourages more people to make PC VR games rather than standalone, and seeing like AAA games, like even AAA games from yesteryear and whatnot, getting like a VR version of it, even if it runs as well as Left 4 Dead VR mod. That's kind of like my floor for VR acceptability right now for an injected game. Like I need it to run that minimum.
I feel you. Yeah, because the Left 4 Dead mod was pretty incredible. Like, I was really... Like, it definitely wasn't fully VR capable. Like, it's very button pressy. But it was still like, dude, we're playing Left 4 Dead in VR, and it does feel pretty dang good.
Right. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
But I won't take up any more of your time. Go and get some of the other guys in here and
Toast, thanks for stopping by. Yeah. If you guys don't know Toast, go subscribe to him. He just released an Attack on Titan video a few hours ago. So go watch that right now, but leave this stream on in the background.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, hey, it's been great, man, and I'll catch up with you later.
Later, dude.
All right, peace out.
Cool beans. All right, chat. Sorry that took a long time, but Toast and I were very long-winded. But I appreciate you sticking with that one. So let's move on to some viewers. You guys have been patiently waiting in the room. I appreciate that. So I'm going to go to Discord right now and start pulling one person. I don't know who some of these are, so I'm a little worried. So don't say anything weird. You know, that's the rule. And I trust this community. I don't think you guys are going to say anything weird. So let's grab the top guy. I'm going to grab Arda because Arda was trying to help me out. So Arda, I'm going to give you like a 5-second debuff because I'm sure that there is stream delay if you're on YouTube. So I'm going to pull you into the main streaming room. Okay, bud? It's going to be so fun. So get ready. I tried to pull him and he got instantly pulled back. Hey, Arda, can you hear me, my friend? You are in.
I can hear you now.
All right. So Arda tried to help me yesterday get it working. But Arda, what's your thoughts right now? What do you want to say?
I mean, I don't have like many opinions on it since it is pretty like new at this time. Also, it did like release in before like 6 days ago. So I think that it can create new opportunities for like game devs who were already working for like the Unreal Engine games. They might like have game developers work on the UAVR mod and maybe make it like an application even that runs smoothly with the games and help the VR port. But other than that, I pretty much don't have anything to say right now.
Cool. I mean that's a good point. So people basically already working on projects, you feel like they'll almost have like a leg up and be able to add more to the community than someone that's just like a casual player.
I mean, they might as well have like benefits for it.
Yeah. I think that's what I was noticing myself. Like when you and I were DMing yesterday, like
Yeah.
I was looking for a profile for Ready or Not, but no one has made it yet, and I couldn't figure it out.
There's about like 6 or 7 profiles for like I saw like Warhammer 4000 and stuff, but no like Ready or Not.
Right.
I've seen people play it like the flat screen version, which is pretty boring in my opinion. I mean, when you're playing VR, like I want to like grab that gun, shoot it and stuff, like Pavlo or something. But yeah, it still has time to develop, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm just like you with VR. I need it to be immersive. Like I need to be able to grab the thing. I don't want to press a button, or I don't want to see a third person character while I'm in VR.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you popping in. If you want, I'll put you back into the waiting room, and I'll grab someone else.
Yeah, thank you. I think I have to go anyways, so
Cool.
have a nice stream, I'd say.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye. Cool conversation. So let's grab another person in the waiting room. Yes, and I see everyone in chat. You guys are talking about. I trust this community. Famous last words. Well, see, give trust and you're rewarded. So let's grab someone else. Let's see here. Someone else. Oh, we got Powie. Powie, I'm gonna grab you, Powie. I'm gonna give you a moment because of stream delay, but let's go ahead and grab Powie into the regular room. Here we go. Hello, Powie. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Well, hold on, wait, I gotta mute your stream. I got like a weird echo. Alright. Yeah, so, for personally, I've actually never heard that this was a thing until like 30 minutes ago when I started stream. I don't think, like, so you said it was a injector
Ukrainian
that
Solarian
allowed,
says alternative stream title.
like, already, like, 2D flat games to become VR games, right?
Pretty much. So it's the Unreal. So any game running Unreal Engine 4 and up, so 4 and 5, can be injected with this mod. So it's this, around 11,000 games can have this one. And theoretically, it gives flat screen games the capability of running VR with motion controls if you can figure out how to make a profile and stuff for them.
Okay, so if it stays like I guess how it is right now, I don't think you'll necessarily like, unless a lot of people are like this is the future right here. I don't think it's gonna take off that much because like games like Fortnite, they were made to be played on mouse and keyboard or controller. They weren't made to be like the gameplay itself to be VR.
Right.
So I'm not sure like how much you change it. Like, oh, you add like a random thing you can pick up on the side or something. I don't know if that's gonna really like.
Well, that's the interesting part, right? Is like VR should be immersive, and what this injector does, it's just basically adding like VR control capability to the character or player. So a third-person game, you could actually hide the character mesh, put the camera where it's supposed to be first person, and unhide certain parts of the mess. Like you can still see the character's arms, their weapons, whatever child thing that they have. And in theory, you can give it motion controls. It works really good with shooters because shooters, you don't really have to worry about physics. You just point the gun, shoot at an enemy, they fall over. So it's cool to see that one. But in a game, let's say Dragon's Dogma, where you could climb on a beast or you could, you're swinging with swords, like it's somewhat physics-based, but it's not going to be physics-based in the way that we're used to it in the casual sense of VR. So that's the interesting part, is you're given these games like new life and a different perspective, which I think is really cool, but that's not like a true VR experience.
Yeah. And it's like people, and I don't like it, I would absolutely be like play some of my favorite Unreal Engine games in VR. I would maybe do that like once or twice.
Yeah.
But like it's always, there's a big difference between playing in VR and on mouse and keyboard or controller.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like you think you'd want that level of immersion with like the VR headset, but it makes playing the game like harder almost. Like if I wanted to like I would rather play with a controller, mouse, and keyboard if I wanted to do well in the game. So if it wasn't, but like Blade and Sorcery, since it's was made for VR, I don't know how you would like play that not with the VR controls. Like if it was 2D, I would much rather play it in VR. But the other way around, like I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, there are some things that people can really take with the mod. So the mod itself is just the injector. It's your base. So in theory, you can hopefully mix this injector with other mods. So other people can give like the baseline of adding motion controls, and then another mod might be able to, I don't know, give AI more dynamics, so you can block, like physically block their sword rather than hold a button to block. Like I think Final Fantasy, the newer ones, like you have to hold a button, it's a skill, your character blocks, or even, yes, like Lies of P, someone just mentioned in chat. Those ones are just like a flat screen that now you can do in VR and you have to hold a button, but it would be cool if other people can make mods with this one. And I think that's what I'm excited for. I'm so 50-50 about this one, and I just hope this is good for the future and it's not just like something that gets in the way of VR, traditional VR.
Yeah, like I don't think it'll like over like for VR developers who spend all this time making a game and then like a mod just makes it for them pretty much. I don't think that's gonna necessarily like overrule like VR developers, just because there's like authenticity, I guess, of a game that is actually made to be VR than a game that was like previously 2D and then made into 3D.
Yeah, especially even with its visual fidelity. Like when you put a flat screen game right into VR and it's not made for VR, like it looks bad right away. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. I think it could have some other capabilities, I feel like, because there's some games that were made to be 2D, and my specific example is No Man's Sky, but they released an update that allows you to play in VR.
Yes. They did a lot of legwork to make that possible.
Yeah. So I feel like this little injector thing could be used in the future to do things like that, where you have the base game and then maybe like the developers of the game can use the injector to like lighten the workload to make the game into VR.
That'd be cool. It's similar, but what I wanted to say about that is like in Unity, the other engine that most people make VR games in, is that already kind of has a plugin. If you're making a game, you could just say, hey, these are motion controls, and they give you very bare minimum motion controls. So I wonder if, like you said, if that's what people will do with it, or if not, like maybe we're being too hopeful and saying like, oh, this gives people the tools, but I don't know if you can really reverse engineer a flat screen game after it's been completed. Like you gotta be like, oh well, I have this injector now let me attempt to find the source code and like almost make it the game that I want. I don't really know if it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, like I feel like if you really wanted to make a flat screen game as good as a like game that was already in VR, you're gonna have to do a lot of tweaking it as like almost like changing the core gameplay mechanics to make it actually work as a VR game. Kind of like No Man's Sky. I've tried No Man's Sky VR. The whole like a lot of the key mechanics are changed, like not just the controls, but just how everything functions was changed to work better in VR.
Right. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I still have hope. I'm excited. I want to see where it goes, but trying it, especially like if you were just a traditional viewer, you're just of normal content. You watch a YouTube video on it and you see the title that it's going to change VR forever, and then you download it based off of the recommendation and you pick one of your favorite games to go in Unreal. You click inject because that's what they say to do. They say it works 99% of the time. So you click inject in the game, and it's just you almost feel like a QA tester for like an alpha prototype on a game, and you're like, what the hell is this? They just said inject, and you want to sit there for the next 1 to 5 hours learning like the baseline Unreal Engine. So you end up giving up on it, and I think that's kind of where I landed on that, where I was just like, this would have been cool if it did exactly like how people said it was.
Yeah, so that is a like it needs a lot of refining and like polish for it to actually be a thing, because it it needs to be more user friendly pretty much for it to properly work. And even just like normal mods for like VR, like any
The
game
Toasted
really,
Bagel
I always have
donated
to like
to
my
Australian
friends always like,
dollars
hey,
through
can you help
Super
me
Chat.
do this?
I'm
Like,
sorry
yeah.
for saying
I
SK
just feel like
word.
modding games in general needs to be more user friendly.
Yeah, it can definitely be helpful, but it's always up to the developer. I think right now the front runners are Blade and Sorcery and Battle Talent because they're friendly with Mod.io.
Cheer 100, cheer
You could just-
100 here, take money. Very nice.
Thanks, Yuri, and thanks Toasted Bagel. But what I was saying is, those games have they're compatible with Mod.io, so you just go right into the mod browser, you find a mod you want, and for the most part, you just click download and it installs. That's the easiest way of doing it, but it's always up to the developer to support that, which not every developer is going to do.
Yeah, and with like, I don't think many game developers that use Unreal Engine. I'm not sure if they're really gonna like having their game be made into VR, but people might do it anyways because people want what they want, and VR is cool. And I just think that we kind of have to wait to see what happens before any like decision can be made on it.
Right.
And this technology of turning a flat screen game into VR is like crazy, at least
Absolutely.
of my knowledge. So I definitely want to see what happens. I definitely want to see what happens with it.
Same. I have hope. Well, Powie, thanks for stopping by and chatting with me. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next person.
All right.
Thanks, man. So, another thing what I want to do real quick is we'll probably get a massive copyright strike immediately on this one, but I just want to double check something. I don't know if you guys have actually seen some of this stuff, so I'm just going to bring up a video real quick. Here we go. I'm going to bring up the man, the Beardo and Benjo. Hang on real quick. All right, so I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. So just hang tight. We'll just mute this ad because I still have ads. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this muted just in case. Shout out to Beardo Benjo here. So he's playing, I forgot what game this is. But this is normally, I think, a third-person game. And this is how it injects. So you'll see here in just a second that he will take out his gun, hopefully. Come on. It looks cool. Like it still visually is looking cool because it's a AAA game. There we go. He's got his gun. I see it. You'll notice how there still has the cursor. I mean, so the crosshair still in the middle of the screen. I don't know if you could disable that, but this is something that has 6 degrees of freedom that's injected, and he's freely shooting, which is cool. It's cool that it's there, but that right there is the minimum of motion controls, point and click, right? It's almost like using a light gun. But as we look at another game, so he's playing, I think, like Skate or Tony Hawk or something. Tony Hawk. So this is just a third-person game. And as you look around, like it's just you're having a bad cameraman, and he's using a normal controller here. Like to me, that would be vomit-inducing, and I would not be hyped to play something like that at all. And then this is, I think he's using a controller. Yeah, he's using a controller for this also. So it's just giving new perspective to other games. But you can inject motion controls. But once again, this is the bolt gun. This is what I was talking about before. You see the floating gun on the screen? Like he's using the motion controls, like the crosshairs don't line up. The actual bolt gun itself is not lined up. So there's definitely work to be done for sure. So yeah, I don't know. There's definitely some cool things, and being able to experience these games like that is cool. It just needs to be done right. It needs to these profiles need to exist, but I don't know. I'm half hyped. That's how I feel. Is it free? Yes. The mod itself is a free mod. You just click install. You run it on. I can't think of the English word, but you run it in the background and administrator. You run it as an administrator and you're good to go. Yeah. Now let's move on to one more person here. Let's see, Banji. Banji, looks like you've been waiting in there. So Banji, I'm going to bring you in real quick. If you want to voice your opinion on that one, I'm going to go ahead and bring you from the waiting room into the main one. So here we go, Banji. Hello, Banji. You are in the main streaming voice channel. Can you hear me? Hello, Banji.
That was a very big surprise. I was about to hop off of here because I gotta leave soon. But hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you
now
doing?
I'm doing fantabulous, and now I gotta turn your stream down so I don't hear two of you.
Excellent.
All right. So, yeah, I had no idea about anything about this Unreal Engine VR literally until I jumped into this. Like the other guy who's in here said, until the stream just started, basically.
Cool.
And I kind of liked what the other guy was saying. I think this whole porting games that aren't VR native into VR, it's kind of like you said, it's more of like it's cool, but it's not really functionally there. It's just kind of cool to look at, but it's, in my opinion, it's not worthy of really messing with until it's to a point where it's like, okay, can we get proper VR controls? Like, can this mod get to a point where we can start hooking up like an Oculus to it or a Rift and actually using full VR controls?
Right.
Until that point, I think it's just going to be kind of, it's cool, but not really useful.
Yeah. And that's where, so there's some, like, sometimes I think of the concept of loss leaders where someone has to do something first and maybe it has to get a lot of attention, but but do poorly or whatever. So in this case here is, if this gets a lot of attention and people that know what they're doing in the space around making the motion controls, if
Yeah.
they were to play, like, what's an Unreal game that you know of that you like playing or liked playing in the past?
Oh, does I don't really pay attention to how much runs the Unreal Engine and what doesn't. If I'm being completely honest with you, I know. I think does Red Dead Redemption run on that?
No, it's
RDR?
Rockstar's own
No?
engine. But
That's Rockstar's own.
let's. What about Gears of War? Have you ever played Gears of War?
I have actually.
Perfect.
I've played the first one.
Cool. So the first one, it runs on Unreal probably 3, but it doesn't matter. So let's say,
I digress.
yeah. So let's say you have a Gears of War game itself. It's
Yeah.
a third-person shooter.
Yep.
And let's say someone out there loves also playing Gears of War, but they know a lot about making VR games or just making touch controls. So what
Yeah.
they'll do is they'll go in there, they'll mess around with the mod itself. In fact, I'll bring it on screen in just a second. They'll mess around with the mod itself and create their own working 6 degrees of freedom motion controls where you can move the chain gun, you could press the trigger and shoot. And what they'll do is they'll save that profile and then they'll upload that profile, similar to on Steam, how people can bind their own controls and create their own profiles. So then you, the other user, can just go in there and click download, and then you have your motion controls like that. That is that's the future, but the right now is not that. So
Right.
I'm hoping that's where it goes.
Right. That would be a cool thing. And it's knocking controller off the computer. That would be honestly where I would see it going more than anything else. And that's where I would hope that would go, where people could just be like, oh, you have this game, download this controller setup, download this profile, or you have this one, download this profile, or you have this specific Joy-Cons, you download this. Until it gets to that point, it's really, in my opinion, kind of just a waste of time.
Yeah, it's kind of, I've seen in chat also people talk about Vorpix. Like Vorpix, we've had that for years, and it didn't really move the needle when it came to VR. People just don't want to. They want VR. They don't want like a milquetoast flat screen game that maybe has motion controls.
Right. Well, I've only really been playing VR for like 4 or 5 years. I haven't really played longer than like a lot of people have. And even then, I've only had a VR headset 2 years. So I was mostly relying on other people's headsets to play. So
nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm still excited. I hope.
Oh yeah.
I hope that it is exactly what we're all talking about, as far as like, holy shit, it would be really cool if someone made a profile for this game and did the thing. But then at that point, we're just relying on other people to get it done. And then at that point, it's the same thing as just waiting on a new VR game to come out, because it's really the developers make the experience, they tailor the experience, and then we, the player, get to try it out and get feedback. But right now, I feel like I have to bother people. It's like, hey, it would be cool if someone really made a profile for Ready or Not. Wink, just saying, I want to play it. So it just makes me think, because I always I'll message like a modder, like I'll message Genix. I'm like, hey, Genix, can you make a mod for me real quick? And he's like,
why do you want to do this to me, Drifter? Come on now.
Exactly. So I have hope, but
me too.
I know that I'm not going to be the one that makes profiles. There'd be no shot. Zero chance.
No. Nope. 0 out of 10 would not recommend.
Absolutely.
But yep, that's about where my thoughts end, because I don't really know much. So
well, cool, man. I appreciate you hopping in the stream and chatting.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. I'll catch you later.
I'll catch you later.
So also, I haven't shown you guys yet the actual program. You would think I would have started off with that, but professional YouTuber. So let's go ahead and see if I can take a quick peek at that. Let me try and find it. Yeah. Here we go. And I'll go ahead and show you this in just a second. Cool. All right, so this itself is the program. It doesn't look crazy, right? It's just a simple file. You downloaded it. I've unzipped the file. This is the injector right here. So we'll just double click on that one. It'll probably yell at me for a quick second. And now I realize it's only showing you the folder. So give me a second. I need to remove that screen again. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, I see it already looks confusing to me. Nice, Yuri. So this is the program itself. This is what it looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like. What you just do is you have this started, and of course you're going to want to restart this as administrator, but we're not running anything right now. You have this started, and then what you would do is you would load up an Unreal game. So you go into your Steam library, you find your Unreal game, you load it up like it's a normal flat screen experience. From there, once it's started, you would inject it. So you press the drop down arrow, you find in here Streamlabs is obviously not anything, but you would click inject and it would start doing its thing. Now it's probably going to freak out because, yeah, so terminate. Okay, so it actually didn't freak out, but what it does now is it sets up like a bunch of different things. And once you're inside the game itself, then you would see all the different programs and how you would make it. You know, in fact, I wonder if I even have, I don't even think I have any Steam. Yeah, I don't have any Unreal stuff installed right now. But that's what you would do. And then from there, you start moving around your different controls and whatnot. So you can see how it can get pretty confusing pretty quickly if you don't know what you're doing and what you're talking about. So there's that. Anyway, I feel like I'm talking in circles now at this point. I've kind of like exhausted what I wanted to chat about for this one. And I sorry I didn't get to everyone waiting in the Steam chat, but I feel like if we keep going on right now, we're just gonna be talking in circles, and I don't want to do that. I still have other stuff to do today. I have to finish making tomorrow's video, but also before I go, I want to let you guys know about a new thing that's coming up. I'm going to be doing real reviews for VR games, and the first one will actually be Assassin's Creed Nexus. I'm almost done with it. Like I said, I promised I would finish it and give a real review. So this will be the start of something new on the channel. So what we'll be doing is you'll still see my human form. I'll probably be standing right near that plaque. I'll show the game itself, but I'm going to give it an aggregate score and something with... if you're familiar with school, you'll be familiar with you'll be familiar if you're familiar with school, you'll be familiar with how we'll grade things. There's going to be, I think, 4 or 5 categories. 1 being immersion, 2 being gameplay, 3 I think being value, and I forgot the other ones right now. And what I'll be doing is each category will be weighted with immersion being 30%, gameplay also being 30%, and then like 10, 10, 10, and 10 or whatever. So what we'll do at the very end, let's say immersion gets a 7 out of 10, and the highest it can get is 30%. It might get itself like 25%. So that's what's known as a weighted score. So at the very end, I'll be able to add up the points and fairly say, hey, this is what it gets. So rather than be like, it's a 2 out of 10 because I don't like it, or it's a 11 out of 10 because it's a masterpiece, what I'll be able to actually do is give you a real reason why a VR game scored how it did. And when I look on YouTube and I will look on Steam, the number one thing we don't have as people that like VR and appreciate it, we don't have anyone giving real reviews on VR games. So I will opt that. I will take that. I will do that fun stuff. But anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by and hanging out a little over an hour right now. I wasn't really planning on doing the stream, but out of nowhere I had the feeling. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.